Then I would say let's start. Thank you very much, guys, for joining. And in the name of ESEI, I'm also welcoming everybody who's not studying at ESEI. And I think it's a nice gesture and courtesy by ESEI that this is like open for non-ESEI students as well. So thank you for that. And today's topic is becoming a leader. And as most of you studying or are early in your career and doing a master, I'm pretty sure you want to have also a certain role you studied for. And most of us are eager to be a leader and climb the career ladder. And today, actually, we're going to talk a little bit about that. You know, what is leadership? Why leadership is so important, and how to get there. But before we do that, what I would love to do is like to use maybe 10 minutes, quickly recap the last two sessions we had. And the first session was about career development in confidence, and the second was personal branding. So, and just a reminder about myself, just a quick introduction, who I am. My name is Mustafa Toga, and I am working since a couple of months now as a career coach and business consultant. And before this experience, I used to work over a decade, over 10 years for two major IT companies as a sales director. And so my aim and my goal and my focus there was like to hiring young professionals. Therefore, I used to work a lot with the universities, for example, also with ESEI, where we were going and then hunting for talented students in order they can do their internship or after their graduation start to work at the company I used to work before. Okay, and based on this experience, I actually also interviewed more than 500 students and hired more than 150 young professionals. I wrote also a book. So that's about me. And so this session gonna be very interactive. So the YouTube guys, you may be lucky because I don't know how you're gonna contribute to it, but the people on Zoom, you are asked today also to really participate, but I know from the last sessions that you are very engaged as well. So let's look at this first session we had, career development and confidence. So can you guys remember what we talked about and what were like the key takeaways for you of this session? It's now, I think, 3-4 weeks ago. Anyone remembers?
Yeah.
What do you remember?
Well, the first session was all about the 4 social awareness, etc., and empathy as a whole, which would eventually help you for your career. And how do you put yourself in someone else's shoes and see the position? And also, we briefly went over LinkedIn, but we didn't get into LinkedIn a lot, much as we did in the second session.
Okay, perfect. So the first session, as we mentioned, was a lot about emotional intelligence. Of course, social awareness is very important, but especially because we are in a quarantine, or now is getting a little bit now opening up, thank God. But especially a couple of weeks back, most of us, especially our friends from Spain or Italy, they were really locked down basically. And there is like really important that you take care of your self-management, that you start to really control your emotions rather than that your emotions are controlling you. And that's especially relevant in these circumstances, but also later on in your career. I keep saying one thing, that in business there is one constant, and that will be change, because business and companies need to adjust themselves or adjust their plans against the competition, against the external factors. And therefore, self-management and self-awareness is key for you to stay calm, even when really the house is burning, basically. You know, so, and as much you really invest time in your self-awareness and self-management, as much calmer, relaxer you're gonna get, as much more rational decision you're going to make rather than emotionally and then maybe later regretting them. Okay, so this was like really the key of this first session. And we talked also that we should really use the time. It was correct, we didn't really deep dive on LinkedIn, but it's crucial for you that you start to establish your social network, meaning adding relevant people to your LinkedIn. Okay, it's great that you have your friends, your family members, or some students you studied with on your LinkedIn. That's great, but you need to be also strategically use and think about where you want to be in 1 or 2 or 3 years. As an example, if you want to work in Rome in the finance department, then you should start now. If you are based in another city or another country, or even you are in Italy and in Rome, you should start now to add people who work as recruiters in financial companies, in financial industries. Start to build your network strategically, because sooner or later, when you graduate in a couple of months or semesters or years, these people are going to be relevant. But you can now do the first step to establish a relationship with these people. And for the sake of an example, for that session a couple of weeks ago, I had one recruiter added on Amazon. I added on the same day, I got a response from him. You know, I asked him, hey, I was wondering if you guys still hire, or are the positions on hold? I immediately got a response from the recruiter from Amazon. I didn't know him. It was a second-degree connection. He said, yeah, we are still hiring. But this is like just an example for you. With 1-2 questions, you establish already a relationship. It doesn't mean that you add him and that you need something right now from him and that you go to him. You can add him, establish relationship here and there, maybe have a little chat. But when you really need them, or when you really decide then to start your career in Rome, in this example, then you can get back to them and then say, hey, listen, I'm now I'm graduated. I'm now ready to jump into my career. Just wondering if you have any openings. And then, of course, because you have them in your network, you will always see if there are job posts and job openings there in their company, because they will share them on LinkedIn. Then you would see this type of very important, relevant information. So that was really the first session. Again, emotional intelligence, especially self-awareness and self-management in these tough times. Okay. And then definitely using LinkedIn strategically, adding potential relevant people for you, depending how you want to take your career as a next step, adding people, recruiters, hiring managers, potential peers, potential colleagues you might gonna work. Okay, so that was the first session. And our second session was about personal branding. Can anybody help me who attended the last session about personal branding? What is personal branding and why is that important?
Oh, hi, Mustafa and everyone.
Hi, Sonia.
So personal branding is, so what it is what people will say about you when you're not in the room, basically, right? Absolutely. And then in the last session, we saw in detail what is that, and then why it's important, and then how we can develop it. And then finally, you explained us how to do it through LinkedIn as well. Absolutely.
Thank you for the recap, Sonia. So yeah, that's very good, Sonia. Thank you for that. And again, I think the definition is like really good. It's like what people say when you are not in the room. So basically, it's really in your hand to create this image you want, you know. So it's ideal, of course, it's an image of you, which is also authentic, because then you don't need to fake, because faking is really exhausting. So ideally, you really give an image who you really are and who you want to be, and then create a brand around that. So we also discussed the example of Coca-Cola, and I'm not going to go very deep in it, but Coca-Cola did in 2019, if I have numbers correct, 37 billion in revenue, 37 billion. And they spent 4.25 billion in advertising. So more than 10-50% of their revenue, you know. But of course, we do not have that much money to invest in our marketing. But we have, thank God, LinkedIn and other social media, of course, like Instagram or Twitter, wherever you feel comfortable. But I really believe strongly in LinkedIn, especially for establishing a professional career and personal branding. And we had actually a call to action. And I kindly ask that you guys share one article, one post, and one video. And how was this experience for you guys?
It is interesting.
It was interesting. Do we have Oluwatosin today on the call? She's not, but okay.
She's there, yeah.
He's there? Okay, sorry.
I'm here. Sorry, let me just turn on my video. Oh yeah,
Perfect.
Hi. Yeah.
Would you like to share a little bit your experience? And sorry that I actually use you as an example.
No problem. It's fine. It's fine.
It's anyway public, so I thought I use that as an example. So
Yeah.
how was this experience for you? Was that your first article? Was it your first post?
Yes, it was my first post on LinkedIn ever.
Okay.
And I was sort of surprised that people would actually take this type of content seriously, because it got, you know, quite a number of shares. Because usually what people share on LinkedIn is about career, jobs, and stuff like that. Like nobody really talks about health or immunity and, you know, other issues like that. So I was actually surprised that it got a number of shares. So that's good.
I'm very glad. And also you took a topic like about nutrition, you know, because your passion lies there. You are very interested about that.
Yeah.
And you're also planning to go this path, or you just trying that out? Yeah.
Well, I'm interested in it. I'm trying. Let's see how it goes. But it's something I'm actually passionate about, especially for my country, Nigeria.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I know you promised me tatashi.
Tatashe.
Okay. So again, thanks to you also we are learning, you know, and this was the main goal, guys. What I really wanted from you is, again, growth lies out of your comfort zone. And you did a little step, but you were surprised. And this is what I wanted, that you guys are surprised with the effect, hey, when you do something, when you try something out. And it's all about that. Of course, you guys doing your studying, you're doing your master's. This is very important. Education is very important. But besides, you really need to try things out. Try. And I'm really glad that you did that. And I really hope that this is now the first step and more to come, hopefully, because you have now so many things to explore. And I really hope this was now for you a good first eye-opener, let's say like this, that you see, actually there is some playground for you. And you should, all of you should see LinkedIn and other platforms as a playground to really see what works. You know, to really optimize your content and to optimize your branding. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for this example. And I actually saw yesterday a nice video. I am not sharing the video because of the quality, but I'm really happy also that we have also a video. And Navadia shared his first ever video on LinkedIn. Can you tell me a little bit about this experience? Yeah.
Thing like so initially I was struggling. I was supposed to put it up on Monday, so I went out at 10 in the morning. Okay, I'll record it. I just ended up not doing it at all. So, and then I said, okay, I'll take it back tomorrow. Then I started realizing I'm pushing it. So what I did before this was for my business analytics class, our teacher had asked to do a video of like 5 short videos to introduce yourself. So I said, okay, let me use this as a stepping stone to do something bigger. So I used that. That is for Tim's class. And then I said, okay, let me try this. Like I've been pushing it around. I mean, you think of multiple things. Like, will it work? Will it not work? Will it be judged? Will it not judged? I just told that, okay. I mean, maximum someone won't like it, right? Okay, fine. After that, they'll deal with themselves and I'll deal with mine. And yeah, I introduced this because at the same time I had, so I try to conduct every Tuesday or depending on the availability of the professor or teacher, a kind of webinar, but that's one-on-one. I mean, I don't post it, not done it. And I said, okay, so I had that webinar and I said, okay, let me use this as content so I can brand a bit what I'm doing about and then a little about myself. So if you see the videos, not a lot about myself, but more of what I did with the content, the sports, etc. So there are multiple facets to it, but yeah, it is intimidating, and then you kind of get the hang of it and you let it go.
Perfect.
So yeah.
How are you? How do you feel about the response you got so far?
Oh, I was surprised.
Not even 24 hours out there, right?
No, it's not yet. No, it's just 24. Yeah.
Okay, and how was the engagement? How many likes, shares, comments?
Well, I got, I think, quite a few views. I actually, I don't like following too much on the metrics, so then it just makes you think about the metrics. So I just said, okay, let it go. And like in the morning when I checked my LinkedIn, I had like 35 messages. Like I've never had that many. So, and yeah, the engagements were good. Like I got some people who like told me some things. There are some comments down below, apart from yours as well. There's some individual who I had followed previously who said they hope more comes out of it. So it's an interesting experience that way. Yeah.
Perfect. Now, really glad also that you shared your experience here. And again, I'm repeating myself, but we don't have the 4 billion of Coca-Cola to do marketing, but with your smartphone, with a nice terrace in Barcelona, you can do also great videos, as you saw in this example. And now it's really important for you guys that you have a continuity, you know, and that you really try things out, you know, and that you really don't feel, that you don't feel like, oh, who's gonna see it, if they're gonna like it. No, just try it out, you know, and then trust me, more and more people gonna give you feedback, and you know that feedback is crucial for us to grow. And with that, you're gonna establish and then extend actually your network as well. So I'm really glad that you guys shared your experience. And again, I'm just picking this two because of the sake of time. But if you have any comments or if you need any further details, please reach out to me and then we can discuss about this as well. Okay? So that was basically the first and the second session. Now let's jump to our today's topic, actually, to becoming a leader. And again here, quick question, guys, to you. When you think about leader, did you make so far any experience? Do we have any people who worked or did an internship and where they can give me a first-hand experience of, hey, this person was a leader because of that and that? Can anyone think a little bit back, or if there is someone who's actually working right now as well as a part-time or as an intern, what do you think makes a great leader?
Okay, before becoming a student, before coming here as a student, I actually worked back home as a TV producer, and I was a series producer. I actually managed a team of at least 45 people on a daily basis. And to be honest, leadership in our own cultural environment can be very demanding and can be very tiring, because most people look up to you. Most people just feel like you are the solution. They don't care if you have feelings or if you have personal issues. So for me, I think what makes good leadership, or what makes a good leader, is the ability to be able to say, look, I'm human, I have my own flaws, owning up to mistakes and not sweeping mistakes under the carpet because I'm the leader, So I think for me, that's like really, really important. And then also carrying the team along, making decisions, being a team player. Because I'm a leader doesn't mean I cannot be a team player. So owning up to your mistakes and then carrying the team along, I think for me, that's what makes a good leader.
Very good. Any other experiences, guys?
Yeah, I personally worked for almost 8 years in a business consulting company. So I experienced having good and bad leaders, and then I was a leader myself, just leading some teams. So I had a lot of like bosses. Maybe they were not leaders, I guess. And what I could tell is that communication skills were the key in most of the cases. Like, if you communicate in a good way, so everyone can understand and can, receive the feedback as a way to improve, instead of communication skills. Like I said before, like nothing but you have to say, but you kind of motivate them to like the same page, and then like go all together to reach the same goal, and everyone understand what have to do. So be very clear on the goals you set, so everyone can understand and go towards this goal. Very important. Not just like telling you what you have to do and then forget about it for whatever time.
Very good. Very good, Sonia. Thank you for sharing your experiences. And I think also I fully agree, they are either bosses or leaders. And I think there is a or there is a difference between that. And then, of course, we're going to come to this topic of communication, which is one of the key skills of being a great leader. And any other input, guys, from your experiences so far?
Yeah, I think, well, for me, it was very interesting because so after I finished my MBA in sports management, I went to Sevilla because I got the opportunity. And the biggest problem was that I just knew Spanish, but I didn't know how to speak it like fluently. So I thought that would be a huge barrier, especially in Spain in general, with the language barrier as such. But Sevilla is worse. Like, they don't even speak English at all. Like, at least in Madrid and Spain, you have Madrid and Barcelona, you have people who speak. So the first thing that I did was I told the guy who was hiring me, like, listen, if you're going to judge me on Spanish, I think I'll just walk out because I do not know much. But what I can do is I can try and like broken Spanish to introduce myself if you want. He said, okay, give it a go. And I did it. And then next day he told me, yeah, you can come and join the office. But the interesting thing was like the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer. So as you're in a startup, you are kind of picked and just placed. Like you might end up doing multiple things. You don't do one thing. So I think that way the CMO was very understanding. Like he said, okay, I understand you don't know Spanish. You can translate some things and I'll try speaking to you in English. And it was difficult for him as well because he doesn't know English properly.
Yeah.
So I think there's a mutual understanding, and that's how I think I ended up working for 16 months with them. I think it is just because of the CMO that I ended up working.
Yeah.
Not because of anyone else for that matter.
So probably he had also a vision, and he saw something in you and how you can fit into the organization, right? And
yeah, I think he saw something, and also the other thing, like he understood that because I was the only one who got an opportunity in Spain in my class. The rest went back to the country. So I think he understood in that that okay, this guy is actually making an effort in that terminology. Apart from that,
perfect. Thank you guys for your experiences. And so now let's start the session. And so we're gonna talk as usual about the what is a leader, and why is that important, and how. Okay, let's look at the what. So what is a leader? And I looked around a little bit on the internet, and I found this definition which I really liked. And a leader is a person or thing that holds a dominant or superior position within its field and is able to exercise a high degree of control or influence over others. Okay, that's a definition from Business Dictionary. And now if you look a little bit deeper into this, what actually exactly it means, I think it's a leader set the direction and help themselves and others to do the right thing, to move forward. I think Sonia said that in her example. And to do this, they create an inspiring vision and then motivates and inspires others to reach that vision. So it's really key that you, as a leader, see certain things. Like in this example before in Sevilla, probably he saw how you can fit in this organization, you know, and this is really key that that we have this vision and maybe also a little bit like out of the box thinking, you know, and then see win-win situations, and then help, of course, others get inspired and motivate to reach that. Okay. So let's look at the qualities, what are really needed. And I think it's really crucial that a leader is confident in what he or she says. And that also comes with the body language, actually, you know, because sometimes non-communication body language also tells a lot. And you're not going to believe in someone where you see in her or in his body actually fear, or you don't believe in it. You know, you're not going to believe then to what he's saying. So it's very important also confident and body language. And then, of course, discipline. And I think if you read about the biographies of most of the inspiring leaders, you can see they are very disciplined people. Most of them are either going at 10 p.m., they go to bed, they wake up at 6 a.m. and they have a routine. It's hard. And I think the first example was saying it was very demanding. So of course, to be a leader, it has also its cost, you know, and then I think you need to be really very disciplined to really go through this time and become even a better leader. And of course, you're going to take more responsibilities because people are looking up to you. And of course, we need to keep learning. And I think if even if you're a leader and if you're still humble and eager to learn, that will inspire other people as well. And if your people see you going to workshops, taking seminars, reading books, they're going to see, okay, even my boss, even my leader, even my manager is keep learning. So it's important for them as well. And I think also the key is definitely communication. That you are, on the one hand, a very good speaker, very, very good speaker, and a very good listener, active listening. With active listening, I mean also that you not just hear what the people say to directly respond, but hear what the people say and feel how they are feeling right now. Because if you really understand also this underlying feeling, you're going to better manage the people, because you're going to have like an empathy to them, towards them, and then better understand their situation. And then if you need to touch not only rationally, but also emotionally the people in order that they go with you towards the goal of the company or your goal. Okay. And to be honest with you, I'm very happy that I worked in English-speaking countries and English-speaking companies, but that English is not my mother tongue. Because of that, I'm really using simple words to explain myself. So you can have the best metaphors, you can have the most complicated terminologies and words, but if nobody understands, so what? You know, and therefore I'm actually happy that English is my second language. And with that, I'm really trying to keep certain things simple and try to always give also examples, you know, and that's also very important that you keep in mind. You don't impress someone with a difficult word when they don't understand it, you know, and that's also very important to keep that in mind. And I think a great leader needs to be also like very innovative, you know, so really trying things out, working on things and have this vision and smell the opportunity and smell the win-win situations. Okay, any questions so far? Good. So why is important that we are actually leaders, you know? And I think a leader builds the bridges, because you have on the one hand the employee who has his private life, who has their needs, who has their wishes and dreams, but on the other hand we have the employer expectations, and most of the employers are actually on the stock market. They have then stakeholders, they have certain expectations. So it can be that the employees want one thing, but the employee and the stakeholders want something else. So that's why you need these leaders in the middle, really building the bridge between the two, let's say, interest part. Okay, and that they are really helping both achieving their goals and getting addressed. Not always it's easy, not always everybody gets what they want, but if you're a very strong leader, you can really keep the momentum and keep people motivated, even though they don't now get a promotion, even though they don't get now a salary increase, etc. Okay, so let's look a little bit like to this why, you know, why strong leaders are crucial for organization. Again, it's crucial to really have like a vision, but also values. And usually most of the companies have their vision. They have actually a vision or mission statement. It's somewhere in the reception or in a meeting room there, but that's it, you know, or it's on their website. But in the day-to-day, it can get lost, and especially the values. So what is the value of the company? Do you pay a lot of attention to families? Do you pay a lot of attention to the development of your employees? Do you pay a lot of attention of teamwork, team spirit, etc.? And that you in the day-to-day don't get lost of this. Because if teamwork, for example, is the greatest value for you as a company, but then you have in the team people fighting every day against each other, then something is wrong. And therefore you really need a strong leader to really address urgent things at the right time. Otherwise it doesn't match with your vision nor with your values. And then, as we said, if there is one constant in business, that's change, and change happens a lot. And change can happen at least 1-2 times a year. Big changes actually happened in the previous company I actually worked, and then you need to communicate that. And what I learned, to be honest with you, even if you communicate 100 times, some people still don't get it, or they don't want to get it. Okay, but you need to keep constantly talk about certain things, you know, especially when there are big decisions are made, or when you are really shifting the plan or the vision. Then you need to communicate. Usually the CEO is addressing the whole company, but then you need to go to your team to explain. You need then really put yourself in their shoes, because if there is a big decision, right now, for example, there is like, I mean, again, we all know what's going on because of Corona, you know, and if you're a strong leader, you need to understand and feel how the employees are thinking. They are probably thinking, okay, probably I'm going to lose my job because of the economical crisis, how I'm going to pay my mortgage, how I'm going to bring my kid to the private school, etc. But you need to feel that. If you feel that, then you can take this communication from the CEO and digest it, and then make it addressable to your employees and to your team member, and then explain why this actually is happening and how it's going to affect actually the organization and how it's actually affecting the team. So because if you don't keep your folks, your team members calm, if you ignore that, it will bite you. Sooner or later, it will bite you. And therefore, Strong leaders are very, very important. And trust me that with these changes will always happen in a company, always. Okay, the key is how you communicate it and explain how it's actually affecting the organization and the team. Again, and if you do that, you're actually really motivating the employees. Okay, either monetary or helping them grow. And of course, we are all looking after promotions about money, but I think one of the key things what you appreciate also is like feedback. What you appreciate is like also a heads up. What you appreciate is as well like, hey, really good job done. This type of feedback. Okay, and if you as a great leader are if you as a leader only there when really it's burning and everything is going wrong and be the boss, then it's not going to work. You need to be on both times there and explain and motivate people. And of course, it was mentioned again that people will look up to you. So as a leader, it's crucial that you know, especially the field you are working, that you know a lot about it, but you don't need to know everything. What you need to know as a great leader, that you know who knows it, and that you can guide your team members to these people. I call that, let's say, with the right tools. Either it's like a training, either it's a person, either it's like a helpline or hotline, etc. But you need to provide that to your team members in order they can perform their job very effectively. Okay. And of course, a leader at the end of the days really makes it's probably one of the crucial or most important things if you want to really continue to work at this company or not. You either a really great leader and inspire people so they want to follow you, or you really the bossy guy and just negative, but sooner or later, as I said, it will bite you and people are going to leave you. And turnover, like meaning people are going to other companies, quitting, is one of the biggest challenges for companies, because hiring and training employees is very time and money intensive work. Therefore, companies really would love that the people are staying and loyal to the company. But therefore, you need to have a leader who is really inspiring. In fact, based on a study, 57% of employees are quitting because of their managers. This is based on a survey by DDI, which is a global consulting firm. 57%. It's not because you didn't get the paycheck or you didn't get the pay rise. It's not because of you don't earn that much. It's basically mainly because of the managers. You need to think following, guys. Many people who didn't work, they don't realize that. If you work, let's say full time, you're probably going to spend 40 hours a week with your manager and with your team. 40 hours is a lot. Some people don't spend even that much with their family or with their kids during the week. 40 hours is a lot. So, and then you need to ask yourself, am I spending 40 hours with someone who's inspiring and helping me to grow? Or do I really want to spend 40 hours with someone who is just negative and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing? So that's why it's very, very, very important, the qualities we need to demonstrate to the team members in order that they really stay with us and then continue to follow and then really see growth potential for themselves within the organization. Okay, so far so good. Does that make sense so far? Quick feedback.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, perfect. So let's now look at the how. So the how is of course also quite important. How to become a leader. And I think again, now you can look at how to, when you are already a leader, how to be more effective leader, or how to become a real action leader when you're early in your career. I will more talk about that. You know, I mean, we are not talking about leaders who can even become better leaders. We are talking now more about how you as a young professional can become actually a leader, okay? I think it's crucial that you are a team player because, again, you need a team in order to really go towards goals, towards targets, towards certain objectives you have. And I actually, every time use this example, even though I admire Ronaldo, you know, it's hard if you have like very selfish people in your team. And again, this is depending on the value you have, right? So for me as a leader, it was, for me, the team was the number one value. Team spirit, and that the people really feel happy and motivated. That was for me number one value. And we communicated many, many times. But then you had some people who were like individually very strong, but not really fitting it or don't want it to fit into the team. So then as a leader, you need to balance out what is more important for you. And for me, it was every time the value team, very important. So then we talk a lot about with the people, like if you had like people where they were individually very strong, but then not contributing to the team or actually negatively impacting the team, you need to face that. You need to talk about that. Highlight the positive things about the person, but also mention, hey, these are our values in our team, and I need your improvement in that areas, and give examples. You know, you need to think about following. If you want to imagine that, imagine a basket of apples. If there is one rotten apple, trust me, the whole basket within a couple of days will be rotten as well. And you need to, as a leader, identify if there is a rotten apple and then work on that before it's too late. Okay? But again, this is just an example for the team spirit. Okay? And then, of course, you yourself need to be also a very good team player, that you really go along with your manager and with your team members and with your ecosystem. With ecosystem, I mean the people in the other departments that you work very good with them. Okay, and establish also through this a personal branding within the company, how you are. So there you don't need the LinkedIn content. There is like really your behavior and really your attitude, how you are. Okay. And I think another important thing is that you understand that you need to lead from where you are. What I mean by that is that the title won't make you a leader. And you can be a leader without a title. Okay? So what I mean by that is that you already now, even as a student, be a leader. In your little, let's say, ecosystem there in the university or in your neighborhood or in your family, you can be a leader. You step up for a certain idea and vision you have, and you go and then practice it. So if you later work in a team, you will, the upcoming leader will show him or herself already because of what they are doing. Okay, so it's very important. If you want to become a leader, don't wait until the promotion. Start already from your early career, early first days, and be the person you really want to be. And don't wait for a title, because if you're actually helping your team members already with helping them out with certain needs, etc., they will automatically see you as a leader. And then later on, if your manager want to move up or they need a leader, then the question automatically replies for itself. Who's the next one? The finger is going to be on you if you have this attitude. Okay? So really start from where you are. Okay? this is, I think, quite self-explaining, that you need to be expert in the field you are doing. Let's say if you are working in a sales department, and if you are working in a sales department, you need to know the products you are selling, okay, but not in a depth, but you need to know the products, and you need to know also sales techniques to really demonstrate the value of your product to the customer, not to be afraid to talk to customers, etc. You need to know all these soft skills, okay? And then, of course, be humble to learn new skills around that. And feedback. I think I did that last time, but I would like to do that as well here. So I need you guys just put out your finger in front of you, like I do. Okay? So if you just look straight and take your finger to the side without moving your head but your eyes, you will come a point where you don't see anymore your finger. Okay? This is called the blind spot. And everybody got blind spot in us. So it's very crucial for us to discover this blind spot. We need to ask for feedback. And you should be really eager to ask for feedback. Hey, how was it? What can I do better? And so on. Usually in companies, they have like once a year, performance review. In big companies, they do that once a year. And in some companies, they do that maybe mid-year as well. So you have like 2-3 official sessions where you get like proper feedback. Okay, that's good. But do you really want to wait 6 months until you get like a proper feedback from your manager or from your colleagues? Or you take it into your control and establish that maybe once a week, every Friday, just before weekend, you schedule a 15 minutes with your manager, if it allows the calendar and agenda, a feedback session. Or every second week. And then say, hey, listen, this is how I'm progressing. This is how I'm seeing myself. How do you see myself? But if you're eager to understand that, you can establish this type of routine and then really get first-hand feedback, what your manager really thinks about you. Because at the end of the day, if you really want to become a leader, you need to be like one-to-one with your manager. He needs to be your champion. Okay, and you can be his or her champion if you really are on the same way. And feedback and asking for feedback will help you to understand where you're standing actually. Okay, so make that really happen, that you ask frequently for feedback and don't wait just for the yearly performance reviews or the mid-year performance review to get some feedback. That's the time is like not so frequent. Okay, make it to a weekly or bi-weekly habit that you ask for feedback, not just from your managers, but also your team members, or if you have mentors, also from your mentors. And learn to effectively communicate. I think, again, we talk about practicing certain things. We talk about actually LinkedIn videos, because you cannot make this video. You can do it 60 minutes, but not many people are going to watch it. So you need to really nail it down in 2-3 minutes in this example of LinkedIn videos. So for you, it's also important that you practice now, that you also give workshops, that you give presentations in your university, that you really practice also presentations, because once you do that, more often you do it, you're going to be more confident and more effective in your communications. Okay? So let's look a little bit like in this first point, to be a team leader, what we can actually do to be more playing with the team. Show commitment, it's key, that you are really eager and interested to really do something. Be reliable and responsible. Share your expertise and help others. So don't keep your knowledge just for yourself, share it. And keep your team informed. If you know something, let them know. Avoid gossiping, avoid making up things. Just keep the information you get from upper management or from another team member, from a source you really trust. Share that information. And of course, this is, I think, also quite self-explaining, that you need to respect others. Okay, everybody has a certain way of doing certain things. Everybody thinks maybe different on certain things, but respect you need to show everyone. Okay. Lead from where you are. Again, we mentioned that being a leader doesn't require a title. Having a title doesn't make you one. So that you really take an opportunity now, wherever you are, to show your leadership skills, to really stand up for something you really believe, or really go after the vision you have. Okay? Be an expert and acquire new skills. I think especially in the role, you need to be a master, that you become the go-to person. And if you have this ability that people are coming to you, again, you are already working towards this self-explanatory question, who's the next leader? Because if everybody comes to you already, then that's not a big surprise who's gonna be the next leader. It's gonna be most likely yourself, if you're really playing that role, the go-to person, quite well, and if you're really working quite well with your manager and with other leaders, you automatically gonna come out from the crowd and be seen as the next one. Guys, does it make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions so far?
I have one.
Please.
Basically, let's say when in the 1970s and 80s, organizations were built only one way, like down to up. That's how information passed. It was more of a linear model. Right now, we are seeing different kinds of communication strategy, different kind of interaction and feedback. So in terms of like acquiring new skills is more of a modern thing than it was maybe back in 40 years ago. So, I mean, leadership has got many traits. At one point it was leader, whatever he says, you go follow it. Now there is translational leadership, different kinds of leadership.
Absolutely.
So how do you see those kind of, it's like a microeconomics getting into the macro phase. So how do you see that change, and how would you suggest for us as individuals to kind of go through that change? Because currently in the workforce, you have like 3 generations working sometimes. And it becomes tough, like, someone who's 50, then or 60, 40 and 20 when you just enter. So I think there is an overlapping leadership style, you can say. And how would someone like you or anyone kind of ask anyone entering to the workforce to relate to that kind of leadership?
Okay, so do I understand correct? Are you asking if you're a leader and then have, like, let's say 3-4 generation actually working the same team, how you would address them certain communication? Is that the question?
Yeah, something like that. And even from the other perspective, like if I'm new, how would I address the leader as well?
Yeah. Okay. I think as a leader, I think it's important that you understand, of course, every person is different. You need to understand how you communicate to this person, because again, I can talk to you maybe if I know you well, maybe metaphors, and by now I know that you like sports a lot. I would use more examples with sports. Okay. And if I know someone else who likes more, I don't know, flowers or whatsoever, the important thing is also that you really understand who the person is. And then depending on that, if you really know your people quite well, then you can address your message, because there is not just one package of message that you can deliver to everyone. This is actually a very good question what you ask. You need to tailor your message depending on who's receiving it. Okay, if it's like, again, let's say the 50, 60 years old worker has other challenges or other things in mind than maybe the 20 years old young professional. So you need to really balance that out as a leader, that you really give the right package to the right person and right generation. And therefore, like this emotional intelligence, again, coming back to that, and this empathical thing is very important, that you understand the other one and then tailor your message to that. And now as an employee, I think it's important that you, of course, you probably gonna feel comfortable with people around you in your same age or with the same way of thinking. But I think also you can learn a lot from elderly generation, and the elderly generation can learn a lot from the young professionals. And if the leader, again, sees that and creates a room and creates certain tools where they actually engage, and not that when it's like break, the young folks are going alone to the to dine or to lunch, and the elderly people are doing their own thing, then you're not going to have this engagement. But if you're a good leader, you would see, okay, I do this and that, and then maybe there is more exchange. What you can do, for example, okay, I would take, for example, and who is interested from the elderly people, maybe be the mentor of the newbies, and you directly with that have an interaction between them, and more are shared. You know, I think this is, like, I would say, my suggestion as a leader then to address this type of diversity. Okay, and that you understand, of course, there is not just one message which fits all. That's definitely not the way, actually. Okay, does that actually answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Perfect. Any other questions, guys? Okay, let's move on then. We talk about this feedback, and we did this example with this blind spot, and there is this Yo-Hari matrix here, and I think it's very important that you know with what type of areas are there. You know, there is this area of the open area, which is like known by yourself and known others. This is actually what you are showing, openly playing with the cards, you know. But there is also certain things, the facade or mask, the hidden. You know it, but the others doesn't know. You know, so for example, you can have like a lot of problems at home, but go at work and don't show any emotions about what's going on back in your life. So you are hiding it. You know, that's what people usually do. Okay, but what I'm gonna talk here especially is this blind spot. And again, if you make it to key to ask feedback, people probably see your blind spot, which is not known to yourself. And again, the only way to know more about that is if you ask feedback. And if people really know how to give feedback, you're going to learn way more about yourself and make this blind spot a little bit smaller. Why is that important? Because in your blind spot, maybe you have a passion, maybe you have a talent, maybe you're doing something very good, but you don't know about it. That would be really important for you to know. Or there is something maybe you need to improve. For example, this presentation, if I'm like very strong with my body language and then really playing a lot with my hand, but don't even realize it, I would really appreciate if someone after the meeting tells me, hey, Mustafa, great session or good session, but maybe you want to work less with your hands. You know, so if this person doesn't tell me, next session I will do the same, just as an example. Okay. And last but not least is the communication. You know, that you really understand that you need to keep communicating, even if you communicate the same things. It becomes a mantra, you know, but if it becomes a mantra, then people really get it in their brain as well. Simplify the message and be direct. So we talk about metaphors. You need to, if it's like really very important message, you cannot talk about, I don't know, very high level things. You need to make it crystal clear. You know why? Because after the meeting, you are communicating certain things, people gonna go and they're gonna meet between each other and they're gonna discuss what you say. But you don't want to give the room for speculations. You don't want to give room for gossips. You don't want to give room for uncertainty. Clear that out already in the first meeting, and be very simple with the wording we are using. And then, of course, it's also important that you listen and encourage input, because again, it's better that they bring their fears and questions and maybe uncertainty in the room where everybody else is, that you can clear that out. Okay, if you don't listen, again, they will go break out after the meeting, they go to lunch, and then they start to talk about certain things. But it's better when you are there that you can really address the uncertainty. And I think stories are very important as well, that you tell stories, because people at the end of the day really remembers better stories. And if you make it a really relevant and compelling story, they will get the message and not forget it. Okay, and I think it's also important that you affirm with actions what you are saying, in order that they are not forgetting that also the next day. So that's like, let's say the 5 key things for you. But then now also, especially in your early career, I'm pretty sure you are eager to increase and climb this career ladder. And I wanted to also a little bit explain how usually it works, that you can actually really become a leader. You know, so usually if you do a role, let's say you are a sales guy, then you become a senior sales guy, and potentially after that, if you're really demonstrating great values to the company and then achieving really your targets, you will be seen as a leader. And then you will be offered this position as a leader. And it's not like from one day another, you are the one. You know, it's really a progress. But for you, I think it's very important that you understand when you start your career somewhere, or actually working right now, I would be, when I'm in your shoes, I would love to understand, hey, where is the path? What is in for me if I'm doing this now for 2-3 years? What is the next level? And again, we discuss about the performance review. You need to address that if your manager not addressing that. You need to understand, hey, what is in for me if I am giving my best for the next 2-3 years? Where is the career path taking me? Okay, and then ideally there is this leadership potential for you, and there is like a position as a leader available for you if you want to become a leader. Okay, but you need to also understand, hey, leader is a great title, is a great responsibility, but you need to also ask yourself, hey, am I up for it? And am I really want to do it? You know, so but I think it's important in your early career that you really test a lot of things and see what you like the most, and based on that, try to work out with your manager your career path, ideally fitting your needs and the employer's need, where you have the same common ground, and work towards that. Okay. And when you start earlier career, you're gonna have like also, or you start in a company, or you start your in a new company, you're gonna have like, let's say this 30, 60, 90 days in the beginning, and usually companies have like onboarding, and there is actually, you can establish already there a good first impression that you are really doing the tasks which are given to you on time, and that you are also really bringing the deliveries. In certain companies, they want to see after 1 week that you have already deliveries, so that you really do that. So it's very important that you already at the beginning really demonstrate who you are, how strong you are, and how eager you are. As early you establish this image, this brand about yourself, and continue that, you will be seen as the one next leader. And then, of course, I think it's also important that you learn a lot from your mentor, and then from your colleagues. But also, your manager probably gonna ask your mentor who you are, how you are, because your mentor gonna spend way more time with you. Okay, so based on that, before your manager actually talks to you in your one-to-ones, maybe once a week or twice a week, he will go or she will go to the mentor and ask about yourself. So that's why it's very important that you also establish a very strong relationship to the mentor, because the mentor will give feedback. Hey, she is really doing great, very eager, asking right question, and wants to really learn. And this message is going to go up to the management. And once you meet your manager, then he has this assumption already about you, a positive image and positive feedback about you. And then you can continue on that. And then, of course, you're going to have also your new colleagues. It's hard that you become best friends with everyone. And you cannot expect that, even though I mentioned that for me, teamwork and team spirit was the biggest value. I was also keep saying, hey guys, I don't expect that you guys become the best friends. We need to be also realistic, okay? But minimum, you need to respect each other. Again, I don't expect that the people are hanging out the weekends together or going every time to lunch. No, that's not like team spirit necessarily. But that you minimum respect your colleagues and understand, hey, okay, he or she has a different point of view. And that you understand that you really need to fit with them as well. And one of your biggest influencer of your career and climbing the career path will be your manager. And I really hope for you that you have already a strong manager who believes in you and who supports you, and that he or she becomes your champion and helps you really to climb this career. So it's difficult to really climb the career ladder with someone who is not really supportive or who is not interested in you. That's going to be very, very difficult. Maybe interesting for you to learn, because with these challenges, you're going to learn also a lot. With a tough manager, to work with a tough manager, it's going to make you probably also quite strong. But I think you need to look out for strong managers as well, who are seeing you as a potential, who are seeing you as a talent, and want to work with you. Okay? And especially in the early days, but later on, you need to demonstrate your knowledge, your hunger for knowledge, that you're really key and interested to really learn new things, and that you are really want to take more responsibility. It's also important that you are really confident, but you need to be humble in your early days. And I really like this statement of Michael Jordan. What he says is like, I have missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I have lost almost 300 games. 26 times I have been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeeded. You know, that you really understand also, guys, you are coming from the business school, you have certain experiences, but it doesn't mean, okay, you the one and gonna be the greatest leader. I really want that you take one thing out of here, is that you try things, play. As we said with this LinkedIn videos, as a playground, also in your early career, you need to test. You need to try a lot of things out, that you really understand what you really like and what your passion is, and go after that. Okay? And I think it's also quite important, especially at the beginning, to make a good impact and impression, that you probably avoid these 10 things. You know, I listed here a couple of things, that you disregard working hours. Now, again, I think one thing is that you start, of course, on time at 9 a.m. most of the companies, or 8 a.m. and that you leave also on time. And then again, if you work, for example, until 6 p.m., that you stay maybe 5 minutes longer there, because I really saw literally people just, it was like 6 p.m. and they were running out. You know, I was asking myself, okay, you don't like to work? I understand you have like at 6 p.m. you can go home, but they're like this, looking at the watch 6 p.m. and then going, you know. So the majority of the people, of course, are leaving at 9:05, okay, probably 90%. But if you really stay a couple of more minutes there, you also demonstrate you're going to be the one of the last leaving the work. And just think about what type of image you give. They will say about you, okay, he's coming, he's one of the earliest, he's one of the latest, he leaves the work, which is like also showing certain dedication. Or you can, of course, come every time 5 minutes late and leave every time 5 minutes earlier, then you will be seen as a person, he comes every time late. Again, it's like minimum, we are talking about minutes, but it can make your image or damage your image. So think about that. Of course, you work from 9 to 6, but do you really want to run out of the office at 6 p.m.? Or you want to wait a couple of minutes when the biggest rush is already out of the office? Okay, just think about it. I think it's also important that you don't dress too casually, you know, and especially if you want to become a leader, maybe look how the other leaders are dressing, and if you put yourself in these dresses or dress like them, you somewhat become also like them, you know. And if you take it too lazy, you probably also don't give the best image out of yourself. Okay, I think this is also quite self-explanatory, but especially for the people who are starting their first career, especially now, the student time is over, you know, unfortunately. So you need to also respect that, you know. I mean, if you go out the day before until 3, 4 a.m. and then next morning you need to work, people are gonna recognize that directly if you drank alcohol and consume alcohol before, you know, a couple of hours before. So make sure that you really respect workplace as a workplace, and then of course that you don't spend your working hours on private matter, and just spend your time wisely on the work you actually hired for. And it's also important that you should avoid burning bridges. So what I mean by that is, again, you probably gonna have certain colleagues or some other people in other departments, maybe you don't get well along. But again, respect you should have for everyone. And if you don't get well along because they have another opinion, it's okay. But if you're really up to a fight, or if you are up to a discussion whatsoever, you can really burn bridges. And sooner or later, maybe this person becomes a supervisor and is superior to you, and maybe can block your career. You know, because again, we are at the end of the day human beings, and they will remember that discussion or that tough discussion you guys had. You know, I am not saying you should just shut your mouth and say yes, yes, yes to everything, but you should know which fights you really want to take, or which discussions you really want to take, and which maybe can harm you later on as well. Okay, this comes a little bit like with the first one, disrespecting your co-workers and customers. You don't want to do that. And I think also for me it was really important, work is work, and religion, race, gender, political views is other discussion, you know. And I don't think we should talk about this type of things at work. Of course, maybe you come very close to one of your team members, you actually become friends, and in your lunchtime or after work, you both are talking about certain deeper discussions. You can do that. But at workplace, I would avoid that, especially if there's like a big diversity and different point of views, etc. I made the experience better you leave this type of topics out of work. And you need to be also very patient, you know, and so being impatient can also be a hurdle for yourself to really climb this career ladder. And sometimes they are like promotional cycles, and usually if the company is performing well, every year they have like maybe the beginning of the fiscal year, beginning of the calendar year, or beginning of certain, let's say, mid of the year, they do promotions, you know, and maybe your promotions is up on the list, but because of certain external factors, they cannot do this promotion now, but maybe with a 3, 4, 5 months delay. So you need to really be there patient. I think we had that a lot in my ex company, you know, because again, the external factors are sometimes there. You cannot control that, and but it's affecting. But then it's, I think the important thing is, I always say it to the people, you need to trust your manager. You need to trust your leader. If there is a trust, if you say, hey, okay, he told me it looks good, the promotion is on the list, and once these circumstances are cleared out, you will get promoted. Then I would stick and continue and be patient there. But of course, if they keep promising me over and over and over and over years certain things, and I never get that, you probably need to ask yourself. Okay? And I think taking that point also to this leadership, you need to also keep in mind what you are promising. I would never ever promise something which is not in my control. And a promotion is not in my control because of these external factors. What is in my control is I can present, okay, in my team I have 10 members, 2 of them I would like to promote this year. I can give to these 2 people this feedback. I can say, hey, listen, you are one of these 2, and I'm going to present to my upper management that I would love to promote you. But you shouldn't promote, you shouldn't promise you're going to get this promotion. But you can promise I'm going to present that you are one of these 2. You know, and as much transparent you are with your employees, and this type of external factors come, they're going to believe in you if you don't overpromise. And I think also it's important that you don't reject certain tasks and duties, and that you are up for work. At the end of the day, it's work. Certain things need to get done, and that you are maybe going here and there the extra mile and doing like more duties in the given time you have. Okay. And I think also in the at work, you shouldn't talk too much about yourself and private life, because sooner or later it can backfire and maybe it plays against you. You know? Again, some of your team members going to become really good friends to you. It's up to you. But I made the experience also myself that I would talk too much. I mean, work was for me work. I really enjoyed my team members. We had a lot of fun time. But my private life is my private life, you know, and everybody needs to know how
Cappuccino!
Cappuccino, yeah. Good. So that's basically it. I hope this was useful, guys, and I would like to open for any questions you may have about this about these topics, about the bits of advice I give, or about any other career questions you may have.
Question. Hello?
Yes, please.
Okay, so you were saying about the 10 things that you should avoid at work. The one is burn bridges. Is it the bridges that you were saying about the employee needs, employer, and expectations? That one?
Yeah, this burn bridges, what I exactly mean is like, so maybe you have a discussion with someone from with one of your colleagues, you know, and this colleague can later become an important person for your career, either because he or she got promoted, or either this person is like a decision maker, you know. And if you're like really have a debate with this person or have a discussion which is actually escalating, then this person will have a personal opinion on you. And probably this person can really stop your career because he or she doesn't like you, basically. You know, and that's why what I mean by burning bridges is you should have your opinion and the other one have their certain opinion, but you should be careful and be respectful to each other, rather having a big debate which can get to an escalation. You know, and with this escalation, I actually mean these bridges, because you never know what type of position this person will have later on, and maybe this person gonna be superior to you, and be the decision maker. If you actually presented to be the next leader, this person can say no, can put his veto. You know what I mean? So this is what I mean by burning bridges. Is that more clear now?
Yes, it is. Thank you so much.
No problem. Any other questions?
I wanted to share a thought about the disregard working hours, where depending on the country or the culture or the area you're working on, it's taken to the extreme. What I mean by that is that, so from my experience in consulting, I was almost impelled to stay until 9 p.m. or so, like even if my working hours were from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., for example, I had to stay because it was part of the culture of the company. Like, you know, I'm not sure if it's because it was set in Spain, but I had to do other projects internationally and I had the same issue. And then when I was leading, I was telling my team, like, whenever you're done with the to-dos, then you can leave. And sometimes they were telling me, no, but I want to stay because in case you know, whoever passed by and he sees me, and I was like, but you do not have to do anything more, just leave. And then there's this culture thing that sometimes these working hours are not understood properly. And then I think that's a problem of like understanding the efficiency or the you know, there's a misunderstood here in some areas and cultures, I think.
Yeah, I think I understand what you mean, you know, and we had that case as well in my company, you know, so we had like 9 to 6 p.m. And my philosophy is, if you not get the work done, and again, work's endless, there will be always work, you know, and if there is one thing you do, there is another thing, it will never end, but you need to end it, and next day you start. So if somebody was like doing like overtime, I was asking, hey, does something stop to work in this world if you actually leave it now at 6 p.m. and next morning at 9 a.m. you actually retake it? You know, and I was trying to open the eyes of the people with that, you know, because we are actually not doing a chirurgy, you know, we are not operating people's heart that you cannot stop until the next day, you know. So it, again, but if you are working as in the hospital, you probably cannot just say, okay, it's now 6 p.m. I'm going, you know. It's depending, of course, what type of work you are doing. But I think it's important that you, as a leader, encourage people to go. If it's like time to leave, then you say, hey guys, it's time to leave, you know. But of course, here and then we had, of course, cases where we had like an escalation with a customer, which is take maybe to 9:30 p.m. Okay, but you need then to, as an employee or as a leader, you need to balance that out. How often is actually does it happen? Does it happen maybe once a month that somebody stays maybe until 6:30? If it's like once a month, twice a month, that's okay. And then what we were doing is, okay, you stayed like half an hour or 1 hour longer, so next day you come 1 hour later, for example. You balance that out. But I think that's the key thing, you know. If it's like occasionally 1, 2, 3 times a month, or if it's every day, and if it's every day that you need to stay longer, then you need to ask yourself, okay, hey, do I really want to do that? Because then you give up also the time between work and going to bed, where you spend usually with your family, your private things, your gym, etc., etc. Then you need to ask yourself, hey, this is now the normality that I work until 7, 8 p.m. Do I really want it? Or do I want to look for something else? You know, and this is like more a personal decision than the person needs to do.
Yeah, that's why I quit.
Okay. You see?
One of the reasons.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah,
if it doesn't fit your personal views and fits your personal goals, you know, and
yeah,
I know,
that's a big deal.
I have a couple of friends, they work in the consultancy, and I know how project-based they are, and if they are giving their employer giving commitment to other customers, they need to get the job done. But it's like depending on you, how much stress you want or how much extra hours you want to do. And if you are not this type of person, it makes absolutely sense that you say, listen, it's maybe very well paid, or I have a very great title, but my private life is lagging and my happiness is actually lagging. And that's why it's I want to quit actually, because I want to do something else which makes me more happy. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Good. Guys, we are now over the time, but I'm happy to answer one or two questions more. But as usual, you can find me on LinkedIn or send me an email. What I wanted also to do is share a couple of books with you as a leadership books. And I actually read all of them. And my favorite of these books, I really like the 7 Habits of High Effective People, Stephen Covey. It's really interesting read, but also for the private, actually, it's very interesting. Even though if you don't want to become a leader, I think it's very, very good. And I really like the 1 Minute Manager. Okay, so I can share that later with Rosanna, and maybe she can send, I mean, actually, I'm going to upload this presentation so you can get these books as well. And here again, the books I read, which I can recommend, okay? And especially the 7 Habits of High Effective People and the 1 Minute Manager. Okay, so then you know where to find me. Thank you very much. I really hope that this was useful. And if you have any question, any points, any doubts, please reach out to me, yeah? And enjoy your day. Thank you very much.
Just a few words I wanted to say, Mustafa. First of all, thanks a lot for delivering this extremely useful and relevant session. Thank you very much. I also wanted to thank all the participants for attending it. I'm reminding you that your presence actually donates to the Food Banks Initiative.
Nice.
Destinate €1 per attendee to Spanish food banks, which will help those people who are now struggling because of the COVID. So we're doing a good thing together. And the last thing I wanted to say is that we will have another guest speaker session with Mustafa in 2 weeks. It will be on the 22nd of May. And please sign up on ESEI website if you are interested. We'll be glad to see you all there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Valeria. Thank you, guys. Enjoy. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.